The morning started quiet. A soft wind brushed over the hilltops, and the forest whispered like it always had. John Cade, a former Earth soldier, walked alone through the woods behind his small cabin on the outer edge of the Terran border zone. He wasn't expecting trouble. Just another day off-grid, just the way he liked it. His boots crushed the frosty grass beneath him, and his eyes scanned the trees out of old habit. Life had been peaceful since he left the war. No more orders, no more blood, no more aliens screaming in pain or humans crying for help. Just birdsong, clean air, and isolation. But that silence was broken. A sharp screech cut across the sky, high-pitched and unnatural. John's head snapped up. He saw a flash, like metal catching sunlight, and something falling fast from above. It crashed into the trees up ahead. Birds fled the branches, and animals scattered below. Smoke curled upward in the distance. He moved quickly toward it. His boots kicked up leaves as he ran, heart pounding. The crash site wasn't far. He pushed through thick underbrush and broken branches, and then he saw a small crater, still smoking. In the center was a strange shape, a creature curled up, feathers singed, wings trembling. It looked like a bird, but not like any bird he'd seen. It was too big. Its feathers shimmered with strange colors that shifted in the light. Blood-bright silver pooled beneath its body. John's instincts screamed danger, but his heart hesitated. The creature was breathing, hurt, dying. It lifted its head and stared at him with glowing purple eyes. John reached for his sidearm, then stopped. He saw something else in its eyes, fear, not anger, not threat. It let out a soft whimper, not a growl. It couldn't even move properly. He lowered the gun. "Damn it," he whispered, stepping closer. "You better not bite." He wrapped his jacket around the creature. It didn't fight. It just shivered, weak and broken. Carefully, he lifted it into his arms. The weight surprised him. It was heavier than expected, warm, and breathing fast. John carried it back to his cabin. The wood stove was already burning. He laid the creature on a thick blanket near the fire and set out a bowl of water. It didn't drink, but its breathing calmed. He sat nearby, watching it, questions racing in his mind. What was it? A military drone? A spy? A new alien species? He'd seen creatures before during the war, many alien, many deadly. But nothing like this. It didn't wear tech, no markings. Just that strange shimmer on its feathers and that bleeding silver. Later that night, the creature stirred. John had dozed off in his chair, gun still on the table beside him. The soft sound of movement woke him. He looked up. The bird wasn't there anymore. Instead, in its place, was a girl, naked, pale, covered in faint streaks of silver blood. Her body was slim, with strange patterns on her skin like soft tattoos that moved with her breath. Her long hair was dark purple, curling across her back like feathers. She was unconscious, breathing slow. John stood, eyes wide. He didn't move for a full minute. His mind tried to reject what he was seeing, but the truth was right in front of him. The bird had changed. Or maybe it was never a bird. It was her. A shapeshifter. He backed up slowly, grabbed a blanket from the corner, and covered her with it. Her skin was freezing, like she had fallen through ice. Her fingers twitched, and she made a soft sound, half human, half animal. He checked for wounds. Her side had a deep cut, still oozing silver blood. Carefully he wrapped it. His hands shook. He had patched up soldiers, stitched alien wounds before, but this was different. She looked human. But not quite. He sat again, watching her. Who was she? Why did she fall from the sky? Was this an accident or something worse? In the quiet of the cabin, only the crackle of the fire filled the room. Then, her eyes opened. John TENCCD. She blinked, slow and uncertain. Her eyes were deep violet, glowing faintly in the dim firelight. She stared at him, unblinking. He didn't speak. He just waited. She opened her mouth. Her voice was soft, broken. "Don't let them find me." And then she collapsed again. John didn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, he noticed his cabin's signal jammers were offline. The backup solar relays had been fried, burnt out by some kind of wave. Not normal. Not coincidence. He stepped outside to scan the tree line, and that's when he saw it. A sleek alien drone, hovering at the edge of the forest, its lens locked. Directly on his cabin, something had followed her here. And now it had found them. Asterisk. John didn't waste time. The drone hovered only a second longer before zipping back into the trees, disappearing between the branches. It moved too fast for any human tech. No sound, no exhaust, just gone. He rushed back inside and locked the door. The alien girl was still lying on the blanket. Her eyes were closed again, breathing shallow. She looked even weaker than before. Like staying in human form was draining her. John knelt beside her. "Hey," he whispered, trying to stay calm. "You said not to let them find you. Who's coming? Who's tracking you?" She didn't answer. He stood and grabbed a small case from under the floorboards. Inside was his old survival gear, a compact rifle, an energy knife, signal flares, and a dark chip. The chip was special. It was military-grade cloaking tech. It could hide a small building from scanners for a short time. He hadn't used it since the war. He pressed the chip into the control panel on the wall. The cabin lights flickered, then dimmed. The windows darkened, and the signal jammers rebooted. She was still breathing. But the silver blood was starting to slow. That was good. At least she wasn't dying. For now. He had no idea what kind of species she was. The shape-shifting, the alien drone. It felt like something big, something secret. He checked the outer cams again. The forest was still, but John knew that drone wasn't the only one. If they had tech like that, they'd have more. They wouldn't stop until they found her. He brought her a cup of water. "You need to drink," he said gently, kneeling beside her again. Her fingers moved slowly. She reached out with effort, touched the cup, then hesitated. "Water?" she asked. John nodded. "Safe." She took it and drank in slow, small sips. Her hands were shaking. When she was done, she let out a long, quiet breath. Her voice was soft. "Thank you, human. You got a name?" She paused. "Ori. My name is Ori." "Ori," John repeated. "I'm John. You crash-landed near my cabin. Lucky I was there to see it." "No," she said, her voice trembling. "Unlucky. You weren't supposed to see me." "Well, I did," he said. "And I helped. So maybe I deserve some answers." She looked down. Her body shimmered for a second, like her form was unstable. Her hand turned half-feathered before returning to skin. "I ran from them," she said. "They're called the Morai. They hunt. My kind. Why? Because we're rare. We don't fit their world. We can take different shapes. They hate that. They want to control everything. They think we're dangerous, wild." John looked away for a second, staring at the fire. "I've heard that kind of story before." Ori looked at him, confused. He nodded. "Humans aren't new to war. People fear what they don't understand. It's a pattern." She winced as she tried to sit up. John moved to help her. Her skin was warmer now, less cold. The wound on her side was still deep, but at least it had stopped leaking silver blood. "I tried to fly past their patrols," she whispered. "I didn't know they had new skytraps." "Skytraps?" "Weapons in orbit, silent. They lock onto unauthorized life signatures. They hit my wings. I lost control." John's jaw clenched. "And then you crashed here." She nodded. He stood and moved toward the kitchen. "You need food, rest, and we need to figure out what to do before they send more drones." John made a quick stew, vegetables, herbs, and synthetic protein. She ate slowly but finished the bowl. Her strength returned a little, enough that she could sit without falling over. Then came the knock, a slow, heavy knock at the door. John froze. No. One came out here. No one knew about this cabin. He looked at Ari. Her eyes widened in fear. They found me. John grabbed his rifle and moved toward the door. Stay down. He looked through the peephole. What he saw made his stomach drop. It wasn't an alien. It was a man, human looking, wearing a long black coat and a strange earpiece, but his eyes glowed faint blue. His skin was too smooth. His movements were too still. John opened the door slightly, keeping his rifle out of sight. Can I help you? The man smiled. We detected a minor crash in this zone. You wouldn't happen to have seen anything unusual, would you? John kept a straight face. Just the usual squirrels. And deer. The man tilted his head. Our readings suggest a life form not native to this world. Perhaps even one that fell from the sky. You sure you haven't seen anything strange? John shook his head. I think your machines are reading ghosts. The man smiled wider. I see. Well, if you do see something, do let us know. He turned and walked back toward the trees. No sound, no footprints. John shut the door and locked it again. Ori was curled on the floor, breathing fast. That wasn't human, she said. John nodded. I know. He looked around the room, his jaw tight. This wasn't just a crash anymore. This was a war, and he had just picked a side. John checked the outer sensors again. Nothing on the cameras. No more drones. No signs of the strange man with glowing eyes. But that didn't calm him. They were being watched. He could feel it. Inside, Ari was slowly regaining her strength. She stayed wrapped in the blanket but now sat upright on the small couch, her violet eyes scanning the room. Her wounds were healing fast, too fast for anything human. John finally sat down across from her, the rifle across his lap. What are they? He asked. Those things that look like humans. Ori hesitated. They're not born. They're built. The Morai create them. Flesh machines with cold minds. They send them to hunt shapeshifters like me. They call us illegal species. Illegal? John frowned. You mean they've made laws against being born a certain way? Yes, on their side of space, if you can change your form, you're seen as unstable. They fear us. They say we could become anything, even them. John leaned forward. Why would that scare them? Ori's eyes dropped. Because we can't be controlled. We don't obey like their soldiers do. We don't wear their collars. That made sense to John. He had fought in wars before. He had seen what fear of freedom could do to people, how it turned into hate. And now they've come to Earth's edge, he said, to finish what they started. She nodded slowly. John stood up and paced. We need to move. My cabin's cloaked for now, but once they come in force, it won't matter. Do you have allies? Someone I can contact? No one nearby, she whispered. They hunted my sisters. I don't know who's left. He paused. Sisters, not blood, but like family, other shapeshifters. What happened to them? She looked away. Captured or killed. Some were turned into weapons. John didn't like the sound of that. And they'll try to do the same to you, Ori nodded. Or worse. John moved toward the back of the cabin and pulled open a hidden panel in the floor. Inside was a small crawler vehicle, part hover, part all-terrain wheels, military tech, barely legal. He hadn't touched it in 5 years. But now he needed it. He looked back at her. Can you move? I think so. He helped her to her feet. Her legs trembled, but she didn't fall. He wrapped her in a heavy coat and handed her a scarf to cover her face. Outside, the wind had picked up. Clouds were rolling in, thick and gray. Snowflakes started to fall, light and silent, but fast. Good, John muttered. Snow will cover our tracks. They climbed into the crawler and set off into the woods. John didn't use the old trail. Instead, he cut a new path, pushing through brush and frost, tires crunching over ice and roots. They drove in silence for almost an hour. Then Ari spoke. "Why did you help me?" John didn't answer right away. "I don't know," he said finally. "Maybe I'm tired of watching people get hunted for what they are." She looked at him, her eyes shining faintly in the dim light. "You don't even know me." "I didn't have to," John said. "I saw someone bleeding. That was enough." For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she said something soft in a language John didn't recognize. It sounded like a prayer. Suddenly, the crawler jolted. John slammed the brakes. A black object had landed in front of them, smooth, round, blinking with red lights. It was a Moray scanner pod, stealth grade, airborne. It had followed them somehow. He reached for his rifle, but the pod shot upward and disappeared again into the trees. John's hands gripped the wheel tighter. "They're tracking you, not by sight, not by sound. They must be using your energy," Ari shivered. "My kind. We give off biosignals. Normally they're harmless. But they built machines to detect them." John cursed under his breath. "We need a place to mask your signal." He made a sharp turn and headed south. Ori frowned. "Where are we going now?" "There's an old bunker," he said, "from the last border war. It's underground, buried under the ice. They shut it down when the treaty was signed. But it's still there, cold, dark, forgotten, just like us." Ori gave him a faint smile. "You're not like other humans." John didn't answer. The crawler pushed forward through thick snow. In the distance, lightning flashed across the clouds, but there was no thunder. It wasn't a storm. It was something worse. Asterisk. The wind howled louder as they moved deeper into the frozen woods. John kept his eyes on the dark path ahead, steering the crawler with steady hands. Ori sat quietly beside him, covered in layers, her glowing violet eyes watching the trees. The silence between them was heavy, but not empty. It carried tension. A feeling that something unseen was getting closer. John finally slowed the crawler when he saw the marker, a crooked metal spike half buried in snow, rusted with time. He turned off the lights and cut the engine. The air was dead quiet now, just snow falling in slow, silent waves. "We're here," he said. Ori looked around, confused. "I don't see anything." "You won't," he said. "That's the point." They climbed out of the crawler. John used his knife to cut through thick vines and frost-covered branches until he found the steel hatch buried under a thin layer of ice. He wiped the snow off, then punched a code into the old military pad. A soft beep. Then silence. Nothing happened. John frowned and hit it again. Still nothing. "They must have changed the code," he muttered. "Or the battery's dead." Ori knelt beside him. "Let me try something." She placed her hand on the panel. Her fingertips glowed slightly, just for a moment. The keypad sparked, and then the hatch clicked open with a hiss. John stared at her. "What did you do?" "I spoke to it," she said. "Old tech still listens if you ask the right way." They stepped inside, pulling the hatch closed behind them. The stairwell was cold, dark and narrow but dry. The walls were lined with old cables, dust, and forgotten signs written in faded English. They reached the bottom after several minutes. John powered up the backup generator with a crank. A few flickering lights buzzed to life. The place smelled like rust and dust, but it was solid steel walls, blast-proof doors, and no windows. "A perfect place to hide. This'll keep you safe," John said. "At least for now." Ori leaned against the wall, breathing slow. Her face looked tired again. "You need rest," he added. "Your body's still healing," she nodded. "I've never stayed in one form this long before. It drains me." John helped her to a small cot in the corner. He found some old rations and warmed them with a heat stick. They ate in silence. After the meal, Ori finally fell asleep, her breathing deep and calm. John sat near the old console, watching the radar screen. No signals yet, but he didn't relax. He knew it was only a matter of time. He leaned back, staring at the ceiling. So much had changed just 2 days. He'd gone from living alone in peace to sheltering a shape-shifting alien girl being hunted by machines. And deep down, he didn't regret it. Not even a little dot in the middle of the night, Ori cried out. In her sleep, John rushed to her side. She was curled up, hands gripping the blanket, her face tense. No, not again, she whispered. Don't take them, please. He gently shook her shoulder. Ori, you're safe. It's just a dream. She gasped awake, her eyes wide with panic. Then they focused on him, and she calmed a little. I saw them again, she whispered. My sisters. Trapped in glass cages, screaming. I couldn't help them. John sat down beside her. Tell me what happened. She took a shaky breath. We lived hidden. On a moon near the Morai colonies. We stayed small. Changed forms to stay safe. But one day, the sky turned red. Ships came. Fire followed. They captured the ones who couldn't run. And those who ran, they sent hunters for them. John's voice was low. And you've been running ever since. Yes, she whispered. He looked at her with something like respect. You've survived this long. That's not weakness, that's strength. Ori blinked. You don't hate what I am? John shook his head. I've seen monsters in every shape, some with fangs, some with badges. You're not one of them. A strange silence followed. Ori leaned against him, just lightly. He didn't move away. Radar beeped. John stood quickly and moved to the console. One red dot had appeared. Then another. Then 3. His jaw tightened. They're here. Ori stood, still wrapped in the blanket. How many? 3 for now, but more will come. She moved to the center of the room. Her body shimmered faintly. Then I need to stop hiding. John stepped toward her. What are you doing? I've only shown you one shape, she said. But I have others. Older ones. Stronger ones. He watched as her body shifted, her arms lengthened, her skin hardened into dark armored scales. Wings folded out from her back, large and sharp like steel blades. Her eyes turned gold. You look like a weapon, John said. She turned to him. I was born to survive. Now I'll fight. Snowstorm raged above the bunker, hiding everything under a thick white sheet. But John knew that wouldn't stop what was coming. The red dots on the radar were now moving fast. The enemy was no longer searching, they were closing in. Ori stood near the old steel door, her body armored in a form that looked part dragon, part bird. Her wings were long, powerful, with razor edges. Her golden eyes flicked to John, waiting for a signal. John moved to the wall and opened an old weapon locker. Most of it was rusted junk, but one item still worked. An electromagnetic pulse rifle, heavy and reliable. He grabbed a pack of stun grenades and clipped them to his belt. We have maybe 10 minutes, he said. Ori tilted her head. Should we run again? He shook his head. No more running. This place is strong, and I know every corner of it. If we set traps, we can hold them off. Ori's wings folded slightly. I'll fight beside you. John gave her a sharp look. If I say fall back, you do it. Understood? She didn't answer right away. Then she nodded once. They worked fast. John placed grenades near the hallway entry. Ori spread small sensors she made from her feathers, biotech, organic, almost like living traps. They glowed dimly in the dark corners. She didn't explain how they worked. John didn't ask soon. The hallway lights blinked. Something was inside. John took position behind a steel pillar. Ori crouched above the entrance, wings tucked tight, claws gripping the pipes overhead. The first Morai entered the corridor, its human shape nearly perfect. Skin smooth, eyes glowing ice blue, but it had no breath. No heat. John fired. The pulse rifle hit the chest. cracking it open with a burst of sparks. Wires spilled out. The machine staggered and fell, but another stepped over it. Two more behind that. The second Morai raised its hand. A red light shot from its palm, melting the side wall. John ducked, barely dodging the heat. He threw a grenade dot and exploded mid-air, releasing a sharp EMP wave. One of the machines dropped, twitching. The others stumbled but kept moving. Then Ori dropped from above. She slammed her wings into the lead Morai, slicing its arm clean off. Her claws struck deep into its chest, tearing it apart. The other one turned and tried to strike her, but she rolled under the attack and crushed its head against the wall. It was over in seconds. 3 machines destroyed. John stared, breathing hard. Remind me not to get on your bad side. Ori changed back slowly, her skin softening, her wings folding in. She looked exhausted. That form takes strength, she said. I can't hold it long. John helped her stand. You did great. She leaned into him for just a second, then pulled away. There will be more. I know, he said. But they'll expect us to stay here. That gives us a chance to move first. He grabbed a dusty map from the control room. There's an old escape tunnel at the bottom. Leads to the cliffs by the frozen lake. We'll head there. If we can cross it before sunrise, we can reach the next ridge. Ori frowned. What's at the ridge? John looked up. An old relay station, long abandoned. But if I can power it up, I might be able to send a signal across deep space. To who? To the only people crazier than me, he said. My old squad. They're not military anymore, but they still owe me. Ori gave him a small smile. Then let's go. They packed fast. John took weapons and emergency food. Ori filled her small pouch with shards from the broken Morai. She said her people could use them to trace their network. They opened the lower hatch and slipped into the dark tunnel. It was cold and narrow, but safe for now. As they moved through the twisting path, Ori spoke again. Why are you doing this? She asked. You could have left me in the snow. John didn't stop walking. I've done enough watching people die. Maybe it's time I saved someone. You already did, she whispered. They reached the exit just before dawn. The lake stretched out ahead, frozen solid, shining under the gray sky. John checked the wind. No drones. No movement. They started across. Halfway over the ice, Ori paused. John. He turned. She pointed toward the sky. One of the clouds had begun to move, unfolding, stretching like wings. It wasn't a cloud. It was a Morai skyship, and it had found them again. Asterisk. The skyship moved slowly across the clouds, silent and massive. Its surface shifted like black glass, reflecting the ice below. No engines, no sound, just a slow shadow crawling across the sky. John grabbed Ori's arm. Run! They sprinted across the frozen lake, boots sliding with each step. The wind cut through their clothes like knives, and the ice cracked beneath them. Behind them, the ship released a sharp hum. They're scanning us. Ori shouted. John didn't stop. Keep moving. Suddenly, beams of red light burst from the bottom of the ship. They struck the ice just behind them, exploding into chunks. Water sprayed upward as the cracks began to spread like a spider web. John looked ahead. They were almost there. The cliff rose at the edge of the lake, sharp and tall, with jagged black rocks at the base. Near the top, hidden between stone and ice, was the old relay tower, half buried, forgotten. He pointed. There, more beams hit the ice. Ori lost her footing and slid. John caught her by the arm and pulled her up. She flapped her half-formed wings to steady herself, then kept running. Her legs were shaking. She was reaching her limit. Another blast hit closer. The ice cracked beneath John's foot, and he dropped into the freezing water. For a second, everything went black. Then Ori grabbed his jacket and pulled. He coughed and climbed out, teeth chattering, face pale. Don't stop, she said. They reached the base of the cliff just as the ship began to lower. A hatch opened. Underneath it something was coming out. Not just drones. Troops. John and Ori climbed. The frozen rock was slick and his fingers were numb, but he forced himself upward. Ori moved quickly, her wings helping her balance. She reached the top first and pulled him up. The relay tower was just a head rusted, covered in snow, its antenna bent. The door was blocked with ice. John raised his rifle and smashed the panel. It opened with a slow hiss. Inside, everything was dark and silent. Dust floated in the air like fog. John moved to the main console and yanked the cover off the power switch. He slammed his palm against the controls. Nothing, he cursed. Ori stepped beside him, touching the panel. Let me try again. Her hand glowed faintly. The lights flickered, then blinked to life. The console beeped. John smiled. Good girl. She frowned. I'm not a pet, he laughed once. Didn't mean it like that. She gave him a small smile, then pointed to the main screen. Can it still reach space? John scanned the display. Old military band, still open, weak but enough. He quickly tapped in the encrypted code, an old one from years ago. It hadn't been used since the last war. Only a few people would remember it. And only one squad would answer. He pressed send. The signal vanished into space. Now we wait, he said. Outside, the skyship had landed. John loaded his rifle and stood by the door. Ori looked weak again, her body flickering between forms. You shouldn't fight, he told her. I have to. No, if I fall, I want you to survive. Stay back. She clenched her fists. I won't leave you. He gave her a steady look. Then listen. If that signal worked, help is coming. But until then, I hold the door. A moment passed. Then, the wind outside changed. John stepped out and raised his rifle. From the trees and ice, they came Mari soldiers, tall and quiet, faces blank, eyes glowing blue. Their movements were perfect, without sound or hesitation. 10 of them. Maybe more. John didn't wait. He fired. The first one dropped with a shot to the head. The others split into groups, surrounding him. A red beam grazed his shoulder, burned through his jacket. He ducked and rolled, shot again, and hit another. 2 down. Too many left. From behind him, a sudden flash of silver. Ori leapt past him, transformed again, half human, half beast, her wings wide, her body glowing faintly. She struck like lightning, claws ripping through armor. She screamed a sound. Not human at all, and the machines turned to face her. They fired. She spun through the air, dodging with impossible speed. One hit her wing, and she dropped, but John was already moving, covering her with his body. Rifle blasting 2 more. Then, suddenly the sky lit up. Beam from above split the clouds. The Morai stopped. A new ship dropped into the sky, sleek, black, marked with old human war symbols. It was John's squad. They had answered the call. From its belly, pods shot toward the ground, landing hard. Doors opened. Human soldiers stepped out, real ones. Old uniforms, new weapons, scarred faces. Men and women who had once fought beside John. They opened fire. The Morai screamed in static and began to fall. Ori gasped, her form collapsing into her soft-skinned shape again. John caught her before she hit the ground. You called them, she whispered. I told you, he said softly. I don't leave people behind. The snow was red. Not from blood, but from burning metal and broken machines. The fight had lasted only minutes once John's old squad landed. The Morai didn't expect resistance like that, not from humans, and not from someone like Ori. Now the field was quiet again. Steam rose from damaged soldiers. Their glowing eyes had gone dark. Pieces of them were scattered across the frozen cliffside. Some twitched. Most didn't. John stood beside Ori, holding her upright. Her form was weak again. She looked more human, now than alien, exhausted. her skin pale and marked by glowing cracks that pulsed with slow, fading light. A man in black armor stepped up beside John. He had a cybernetic arm and a long scar across his jaw. His voice was low but calm. "You always find trouble, John." John smirked. "You always answer late, Cole." Cole looked at Ori, his brow lifting. "So, this is the alien girl?" Ori blinked. She looked ready to drop. John nodded. "She's the reason we're still breathing. And she's not just a girl, she's a person." Cole looked at the broken Morai. "Well, whoever she is, she's got fight." Another soldier walked over, handing John a small tablet. "We picked up partial transmissions," the soldier said. "Mare fleets are expanding again. That ship wasn't alone." "More are coming." John's jaw tightened. "Of course they are." "We'll take her back to base," Cole said. "Get her to medical. Hide her if we have to." "No," Ori said, her voice shaking but firm. "They'll keep chasing me. Wherever I go, they'll come. Until I'm gone." John looked at her. "Then we make it so they stop chasing." Cole crossed his arms. "You got a plan for that?" John nodded slowly. "I think it's time we make the Morai afraid again." The squad helped load Ori into the dropship. She leaned into John as they lifted off. The view below showed the wrecked skyship burning slowly, smoke rising into the white sky. She spoke quietly. "I thought I'd die on this world." "You almost did," John said. "But you didn't, and now we've got a new fight." She gave a weak smile. "You're strange for a human." He smiled back. "You're strange for a bird." She chuckled, and her laugh sounded like wind chimes in a breeze. At the base, a hidden outpost deep in the mountains, they patched her up. Human doctors had never treated alien biology like hers, but she healed quickly with her own strange cells. Within a day, she could walk again. John stood beside her as they watched the sunset from the cliff edge. "The Morai won't stop, will they?" she asked. John shook his head. "They don't know how." "Then we make them," she said. "But I don't want to just run anymore. I want to find the others, my sisters, if any are still alive." "We'll find them," John said. "Together." Ori looked at him. "Why are you still with me?" He didn't answer for a second. Then he said, "Because when I found you, you looked like something broken. And now I see something powerful. And free. I've fought wars for the wrong people. Maybe it's time I fight for someone who deserves it." She looked away, her eyes misty. "No one's ever said that to me before." "You'll hear it again," John said. "Because we're not done." Weeks passed. John's squad built a signal web across the border Zone 1, strong enough to reach deep space. Messages were sent to old resistance cells, refugees, outcasts, even distant colonies that still remembered the old wars, and some answered. Ori stood before them, wings folded, eyes glowing softly, her voice strong. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was leading. More shapeshifters began to appear one by one, or in small groups. Some were like her. Some had different forms, some were wounded. But they came, they followed her, because she had survived, because a human had saved her, and now they would rise. One evening, as John repaired a signal tower, Ori landed beside him in her bird form, sleek, silver feathers shining in the moonlight. She shifted back into her humanoid form and smiled. "I was never meant to fight alone," she said. John looked up. "You never will again." They stood together, overlooking a new army forming below. A girl once hunted like prey. A man who once wanted nothing but silence. Now both had found purpose. And neither would be forgotten. Not by the Morai, not by Earth. Not by the stars.